Alright, hello everyone, my name is Cruiser, also known as Cruise Control. Welcome to the stream. You're probably coming right back from one that just happened a short moment ago. I have gone ahead and done some stuff in the background. All the audio seems like it was doing good. The team is messing boot. And yeah, so I'm gonna just wait for the song then because it's nearly done. And then we'll go ahead and start talking about what's happening and what we're doing, and let the team know that we're ready to go, so that they too can be ready to go. I'm gonna pause that. Oh, 1 second. Okay, hello? Yes. Alright, so welcome to the stream. Today we are doing a team survival tournament once again with Flux's team. However, this time they'll be playing on Desolation versus King Fleshpound. This should be an interesting change of pace. This map, if I remember correctly from watching earlier, was the downfall of a team, quite potentially, if I recall correctly, the first wipe of the tournament, which is very unfortunate, and it's going to be interesting to see how Flux's team, the FluXiServer team, I believe is the official title of the team actually, the FluXiServer team is going to handle this, essentially. So we will go ahead and talk to them in a moment, and I'll once again explain what's going on in case we have any fresh viewers who aren't really knowing what the heck we're doing as the match goes on. I'll go ahead and let them know that I'm pretty much ready. Got the box up here, got that. Gonna go ahead and unmute the game. Looking for what's going on in the background. There we go. There will be a map change shortly in all likelihood, so I better make sure I stay tabbed in. So, while we wait for them to finish up, let's go ahead and describe what is going on. This is the Team Survival Tournament, hosted in part by Flux, led in full by Flux, streamed in part by Flux. Generally, Flux. Flux is the one who has been making this all happen and putting it all together. Of course, a big shout out and thank you has to go to the players themselves. Without the players and the teams, there would be no tournament to be had. However, Flux was the reagent, the spark that really brought all this together. And perhaps not even the first spark. There have been calls for something like this over time in the community, but he really made sure to nurture that spark and turn it into a roaring flame, which is what we're seeing here today. So big shout out to Flux and huge shout out to all the players as well. What is the Team Survival Tournament? However, you may be asking yourself. Well, essentially, it is a Killing Floor 2 tournament where players are playing on a 7-wave map, Hell on Earth. They are assigned a map and a boss.
What is this machinery?
Yes, you can interest me in the Genius Bar.
An ally falls.
There we go. It's making it clear to them what's happening. Where was I? So, 7 waves, Hell on Earth, difficulty. The goal is to beat your map as fast as possible compared to the other team within your bracket. Deaths add 30 seconds. If there is a team wipe, I believe that adds an additional 60 seconds on top. In terms of how wins are concerned, if you are the fastest members or fastest team in your bracket, then you win. If for whatever reason there is a time tie, then the next best would be deaths. If, for example, no one actually beats their match, then if someone reaches a later wave, that would be taking precedent over speed. So you can't just start the game, team wipe, have 4 minutes, and if someone gets to wave 2, they win. So there's some limiters involved there. It's all very complicated and far above my pay grade. Leave that to Flux to figure out. I shouldn't say my apologies. But that's basically the long and short of what it is. We have teams. This is the second week. There will be one more week. Hopefully that's all it will take. And next week, if I remember correctly, /weekend, will be the finals and semifinals and finals. So with that said, there will be more information that will be explained as time goes on while we're in the match itself. However, I have to go ahead and wait a little bit before we really get into that, because if we go too far, too fast, it's not going to make much sense. Right now I'm adjusting some things so that the visuals look good. Waiting for the teams to load in because the match has just been flipped. Trying really hard not to burp because I went and had a bit too much water too fast in between those streams. Give me a second, I'm going to mute again. Okay, go ahead and unmute myself over here. Good to go there. And good. Go ahead and bring the chat view on over. Now, for those who may not be aware, I will be using a controller that will hopefully not die because I don't know when I last charged it, in order to reduce the potential for motion sickness for you, the viewer, because flipping a mouse around in an FPS when you aren't the one shooting is a bit of an issue sometimes for someone's brains. This is Desolation. I'm going to go ahead and just show who's on here. We're using the FluXiServer tournament server. And this map has a hollowed history. Hollowed because it was hollowed out in some people's minds, and hollowed because it was just a good map, and is still in many ways a good map. But those are concerns for a future time. So please do try to keep those to yourself in case that comes up. Because that's not the point today. Today, the point is this match. And this team. It's going to be interesting to see. I believe it was Badass Basilisk's team. What in the heck are they writing? This is so crude, so utterly crude. I believe Basilisk team was the one who was playing previously. I don't know what they might be up to now. Go ahead and see what's going on. Once again, we have Flux on Berserker. That's a big pile on Firebug. They excelled at those last match. Desolation as the support, which I believe was the same as last time. Strip Steve as Sharpshooter, definitely the same. Slimer as SWAT. And Pop 2222 as the medic. This is actually a pretty good spot for me to actually be able to pull away and see most of the team. So that's what we're going to do. See if we can get a good angle here. Be a little bit lower. There we go. So, what you see on the screen right now, on the right hand side, you see my name flicking up whenever I'm talking. That's the Discord overlay. When we have our conversations or drop into the team chat, you'll be able to see who's talking. So that's what that's there for. Up above, we have the timer for the match. As you can see, the timer of the match does not match the timer in the game. That is because that game timer accounts for lobby as well as a bunch of other things. This timer, however, will not do that, and it will also not penalize teams for making use of Z time because it will slow down along with the Z time as well. At the bottom, we have the team composition overlay, which is custom for this tournament through a specialized mod. And what it tells you is the top bar, blue bar, as that can be seen on Slimer, is the armor. The next bar is the health of the players. The next bar, which is both yellow and white, is the ammunition. The yellow ammunition is primaries, and the white is secondary, potentially just their sidearm pistol. There is also kills, assists, and dosh available information, and we are coming in to the end of first wave. 8 Zeds remaining. They're pulling away. Trader is not that close, because that's not the trader. Oh, wait, it is. This is the trader. Looks like they might actually be going for the trader. They're taking some time here. Some of the Zeds are not dying. Where are they? Just slow movement, slow movement. Looks like they're actually going to make use of the trader on wave 1. That's interesting. It is right there, though, so it is an opportunity to just stock up on ammunition so you don't have to worry about it later on. The key interests are going to be how each player performs on this match, especially compared to the one that we had just witnessed previously. There was a lot of very tight corner action. The positioning of the teams, I'm going to be interested to see if there's much of a change there. It looks like we have a Flux, that's a big pile, also known as Odin, and Pop 2222 at the upper half of this corridor / cave, and we have Strip Steve, Slimer, and Mizalele at the bottom. So that would be the SWAT, support, and sharpshooter at the lower half, and the Berserker, Firebug, and the Medic at the top half. Medic is obviously bouncing back and forth between in order to assist. We have to go ahead and now take an opportunity that is presented to us to pull away a little bit since it's still early wave and see just kind of what the spawns are looking like. So there's obviously a spawn coming through that hole right there. We have some Zeds trickling in from above. This is a very long, long hallway. Where are they coming from? That's the question. Can we see something pop in maybe? Because there was some really high up and that was very strange. Are they coming a little bit lower? It looks like they're coming a little bit lower. Spawning right here maybe. Let's see. Yes, no, yes, no. Don't want to commit too much time here. Ah, right there. Okay, so they're kind of coming in around here. Behind that truck and this truck. So that's at least 3 spawn points on the upper corridor. It's pretty good. On the lower corridor, I'm hearing things happening. I don't know if they've already taken down a Scrake. It looks like they have. We missed the Scrake kill. Clean headshot. Let's see where the next one comes in. Because I definitely heard at least one more coming in. Got Husk over there. Oh, that's a quarter pounder. That's what we heard. 2 quarter pounders. Some headshots coming in. The entire team has turned around to come deal with this. They do not want to have any problems with the amount of damage that it comes out. They didn't worry about it. No problem. Push right back in on the bottom. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Headshots, bloats down. No issue whatsoever. Weapons are getting swapped, it looks like. It looks like Firebug has the Scorchers, I believe is what they're called. The fire pistols. Once again, and the Cock and Burn. Flux the Berserker is making use of a Grovel. I haven't seen anything else come out. The medic has a hemoglobin, something like that, once again. Sharp is making use of their starter weapon, which is the Winchester, and potentially another one. I'm not too sure. There is a crawler that broke through the line, and it just got Goomba stomped and summarily executed. Very unpleasant for that crawler, I'm sure. Doesn't seem like it knew what to do after it got through. I'm trying to see what other weapons may be on tap, but it's kind of difficult. They're moving around a lot. This looks like the starter shotgun here on the support SG-500. And the SWAT is making use of what looks like the MP5, which I believe is the starter weapon. This title. Pretty sure it's the starter weapon. Oh, they actually have an MP7 as well, which I believe is the name of that gun. I do apologize if I'm giving the wrong titles. I haven't played some of these perks in a while. Long story short, it's not their starter weapon. So SWAT has at least 2 weapons based off of their originals. Support seems to only have 1. Sharp seems to only have 1. And the medic has this big old gun. And they're just taking care of business. There's really no issues happening here. I'm not seeing any distinct damage in terms of their... Oh, hold on. I hear some more quarter pounder action. There's not too much damage coming in. Flux's armor got slightly nicked there. Berserker is doing fine. This feels slower though. And this is just from a perception. It could not be whatsoever, but just it feels a little bit slower than last time. That probably has something to do with the overall space that needs to be taken care of though. So let's go ahead and take this opportunity since it's the last few Zeds. See where they're coming from in this corridor. Saw at least one drop from over there. Will we have enough spawns to actually find out? There's some more there. There's some coming from over here. It takes time. They're really walking slow. Looks like the team is on the move, however. This is interesting. They're trying to check both corridors. I'm not sure where the last Z is. The trader pod is very nearby, so it makes sense. Go ahead and take the opportunity when you have it. Their positioning overall seems pretty good. There's a sufficient amount of spawn points for the Zeds. I have played this map, not enough to really commentate distinctly on where I think will be best. This feels like it could be a faster spawn point in other locations, but it would be far more hectic in those locations. There's a lot of blind corners built into this map. Slimer is not appreciating it. Just so we know, says SWAT. Good to know. Good to know. Good to know. Not appreciated. But there are other spots that would be faster, but this one is giving a good line of sight. It will allow for smoother gameplay. It's going to be less hectic than the prior match. The speed at which they come in, though, is going to be the deciding factor here. They really seem to be coming from very far away over here. Let's see how far back. Look at that. They're spawning all the way out here. Some of them are getting stuck. That is a huge corridor to be working with. And I'm wondering why they're spawning here. It could be the potential that that is the direction in which the corridor is going, and they're kind of proccing a different spawn hole. I don't know if that might be changed or otherwise benefited by moving it further towards this wall, like over here, so that you're not in the way of that other one. But there's definitely, there could be some adjustments done in terms of the length of time it takes for the Zeds to get there. But in terms of the lanes themselves, the players are doing an excellent job holding it. You saw all those game overs. Plenty of headshots going out. Very spiffy. Headshots are going into many of the bloats. The bloats aren't really given an opportunity to release any bloat bile bombs or just in general. I mean, on the other side, it's quite a different story. Far more brutal than precise attacks. Flux is over here just flaunting his stuff. Look at that. I think we need to bring a few more husks in. I might solve that issue. We're hearing some spawns of the big boys. There it is right there on the lower corridor. The SWAT is firing a large quantity of bullets into that quarter pounder. It's still not down. There we go. Took a little bit. There's another quarter pounder coming in. SWAT needs to reload now, however. Take a shot into the support. Support did get nicked. Support is getting heavily punished by that EDAR. Support is low on health. SWAT is low on health. That was not a good transition. However, they did pull it off. No harm, no foul, no losses. Messy, however. It's definitely messy. Looks like there will probably be a full trader skip. Trader is very far away. It took a bit of time there. 44 seconds saved instead of upwards of 52. Not terrible, not terrible. We will go ahead and hop into their chat in a moment towards the later half of this match. I was hoping to jump in around that trader, but we'll go in either on the next one if they do go to trader, or towards the later end of the wave. Let's see here. Those EDARs are going to be a trouble. The advantage that players get, look at this. The advantage that the players are getting from the lines of sight in this corridor are significantly hampered by the fact that the enemy team, the Zeds, are also gaining quite a bit of sight. Look at that. That was brilliantly done. That Husk Cannon is back in action once again. And so are the Scorchers or the Fire Pistols, whatever the heck those things are called. Really should have looked it up in interim. And Sharp has the M something, or I want to call it M14. It's the laser-sighted rifle. Very good for getting headshots and stuns out. The weapon lineup seems pretty similar to before. It looks like the support now has the shotgun pistol. HRG buckshot, potentially, I think it might be called. Oh, and there was a clean crossbow shot into that Scrake right there. I almost didn't catch it, but I heard it go out. Smooth stun, head decapitated, no problem. We got another Scrake up at the top. But yeah, as I was previously mentioning, the Scrake is getting debuffed and no problem. The EDARs and the Husks have a huge range, and they might be aiming at the people down at front with the SWAT support sharpshooter combination, but if they sidestep those missiles, they're going to go right into their team members' backs, and they're not going to be able to see that. They might even get pushed out a little bit, and that might cause issues for a parry or block on Flux's side in terms of the Berserker's movements, which is risky. That was brutal destruction right there. We're going to go ahead and jump into their chat now. Go ahead and switch to having the camera controlled by Flux.
I like bacon.
Alright, I'll finish off the last. Just get to that trader. It's alright.
I hate this place. I hate it so.
Cut the fatty in half.
You like cutting
Goddamn
fatties
Betty.
in half, huh?
Betty deserves it.
What do you mean deserves it? Even fat people have rights, okay?
I never said they didn't have a right. They also have wrongs.
Or left.
Or in between.
Oh.
In
A bit of
between,
both.
I'll take that.
Lol.
Next location, yeah? So we're gonna go down to the side hallway, underneath.
Underneath?
Yeah.
Please skip.
Where?
I can't even get to it, to be honest. You know what, fuck it, yeah. Katana will do.
Cheers, big ears.
You have the best weapon in the game, man. It's
Oh,
katana.
fucking yeah.
Alright, there was a lot to unpack there. Discussions of less savory nature. My control not working. There was some cyberbullying going on there. Those poor bloats, they don't deserve it. Or maybe they do. I don't know. Depends. Maybe we should make that the next poll. But no, in all honesty, this is interesting. Flux was not able to make it there. The ammo count has gone up massively. You could say that several people purchased armor. Full armor. Most of their dosh has gone on the support, on the medic, on the Firebug. Firebug is lower than they could have otherwise been, but they're still doing pretty good with their ammunition or money. And Slimer is lower on things too, so he probably purchased some stuff. I'm hearing some harsh bullets. I think that might be a Chris. Let's see. No, it's not. At least not yet. Is that the Mac? That is the Mac 10. Doing some bonus Firebug damage. Also, haven't actually brought this up yet, but the team moved. So not only did Flux not reach the location in time and had to stick to the Katana on wave 6 of 7, but the team didn't actually accomplish everything as quickly as they were hoping to. Now, I did hear them say second location, so it seems that this was a planned position. There was a desire, or not a desire, but an understanding that they might need to move, and they planned ahead for it in all likelihood, because it wasn't saying At least at that time, they weren't saying go down to training zone. They just said second location. So I'd like to think they know what that meant. We'll go ahead and try to remember to mention that. Let's see, I hear some... Oh, wow, that thing had no hope whatsoever. So we're going to have to figure out what their new positioning is here. It looks like the Firebug is holding the entryway into the training zone. Berserker is... where? They're all just all over the place. I don't know what's happening. There's a lot of pushing going on. Berserker is pushing the wave out all the way into the center console / spires section. Some of the Zeds are getting past, and the medic is taking a slight beating from that Beyblade. Looks like they're moving their position. They pulled away from the training entryway. They are now consolidating themselves into this component of the hallway over here. This is interesting. There's a couple Skrakes. Skrakes are going down. A lot of bullets are coming out. That's actually what looks to be a P90. See if we can actually get a quick glance of it. Oh, I keep switching. I think that was a P90 and a Mac 10. We'll see if we can spot it later. Maybe it'll come out. The team is doing good. There was some damage. There's a lot of that armor missing. More than would probably be desirable. However, there's still a sufficient amount. There's stalkers coming out through that vent there, though. That might cause them some trouble. They're not really used to positions, at least at this point of the match, that had backspawn. What is that? What is that? No, that's the Chris. That's definitely the Chris. Alright, so we got a Chris Vector unloading into the head of a Skrake. Problem solved. We got the hemoglobin still going strong on the medic. Firebug making extensive use of those flame pistols, assisting the holding point with the Berserker. The sharpshooter, I have no idea where they even are. There they are. Seems like they're still covering. Medic also seems to have a HM401 at this time, which is not the grenade launching variant of the rifle. Seems that they have opted for a higher focus on healing and potentially damage output. Some people could say that the other rifle has more damage output. It depends on your preference and what you're really doing with it. I feel like the HM401 gives you a stronger opportunity to target something cleanly and continue the output damage. Looks like they're already moving once again. Perhaps repositioning themselves. Perhaps just going for the trader. Slimer is low on health. Their SWAT is not feeling as well as they could. Everyone's here at the trader. I was right on the other side of the training room. Looks like they might be wanting to leave this section, or are they going to stick around? There's some serious adaptability. We were talking about this with Flux earlier on the previous match. It seemed that a high focus and high value was placed on adaptability and the capacity to change the maneuvering around as much as possible and being able to make the best of the situation that's here in the... And we might be seeing that in full force today on this match. There's a lot of movement between positions. There isn't as much of a holding in one position or skipping trader. It feels safe in the sense that trader purchases are happening, but it feels risky in the sense that they're not committing time to the trader ways. They're just getting traded, they're buying their stuff, they're picking a use position, they're holding. This is really going to showcase their ability to change things up as they go. Wow, that freaking quarter pounder just dropped straight down the stairwell. There's so many of them coming. We're going to have to pull back a little bit here. And that was very well done. Did you see that? The quarter pounder went down, even though it was slowly being surrounded by a bunch of trash Zeds. Wasn't any kind of issue. Looks like the Firebug has the medic, or not medic, the microwave gun once again. The weapon loadout is seeming quite similar. Optimal loadouts for most of the team members. I'm interested in seeing if the support has something a bit different now. Still feel like that's the SG, but that could be the combat shotgun instead. Here is a Skrake to test things out. A nice loof from the microwave gun, dropped it on its head, and then it was promptly beaten on by Flux. Finding the speed at which the Zeds are spawning in is a bit more difficult here because of the fact that they keep moving around, so we can't really just leave the event. But we can see from up here anyway that they're spawning relatively close by inside of there, and over here, I mean, they're just spawning all over the place. The flow is smoother. It's more even from each side, it feels. There's still a little bit more coming from the top of this corridor than the bottom, but it's pretty even compared to some other possible locations. It's 18 minutes 32 seconds on wave 7. They only have 170 Zeds left in just a second. There he goes. So they're pretty good on time. It's very par for the course. They're getting close to that 20-minute mark. We're gonna go ahead and have to run a prediction immediately before it's too late. So let's go ahead and start prediction. I'm gonna say over or under 22 minutes. Actually, not 22. What is it? 21 minutes. Because I think that'll be pretty cool. Over, under, and let's go ahead and put it on 1 minute. Start the prediction.
Oh, suck it up.
Well, they finished over or under 21 minutes. Seems like they were going a little bit slower through the wave than I thought, though, so that might have been a poorly described one. I don't know if I should go between 21 and 23 minutes. But I think that's going to be a pretty obvious one there, so my apologies. Felt like they were going faster anyway. But then again, they could. They could. The movement has been very consistent here. This match is a bit less high octane than the prior one. That's basically down due to positioning. But there have been more hiccups, at least perceivable hiccups, because obviously we couldn't see as much on the previous match. This time we can see what's happening far more easily. There have been some injuries, some less than pleasant situations like those quarter pounders in the original holding position, and obviously the inability to purchase the weapon that was desired earlier. That is a lot of bolts in the ceiling there. But overall, this has been very smooth. There has been no deaths as of yet, once again. Absolutely no one was willing to risk their points for under. Sensible decision. And it's certainly not looking like it. If the spawns were a little faster, maybe they would have had a chance. There is a couple spawns at the bottom, but the team is already moving. You can't leave them behind, though. If you do, it's going to be a problem, especially on a map of this size. They are clearly moving on a trader, probably getting ready for their boss wave. The trader isn't too far away, so even though a Zed or two might get lost inside these wide corridors, it won't be the worst. Luckily, it seems that none of them got stuck inside of the training zone, moving back and forth. And here we go, going in. Money is being spent and spread. Cash has been granted. Another Mason Shield has been purchased. They're prepared. They're ready. Zerkwall is coming. Here comes the King Fleshpound at 21 minutes, 28 seconds. Let's see how long it takes to take it down. It's spawned very close to them. If it turns around, yep, there we go. Okay, let's see if they are ready for it. They pretty much just went right outside the corridor. And here come in some shots from a railgun. Microwave gun is firing. It will do plenty of damage against all these Fleshpounds. The quarter pounders are coming in, however. Flux looks like he's trying to take the aggro away. The quarter pounder wants that sharp. Ooh, got a little hit in there. Looks like now Flux has main focus there on the aggro. Gonna pull out of this viewpoint so that we can actually see what's happening. The team is desperately trying to stave off the assault of quarter pounders while Flux takes most of the hits. Flux's health is starting to get a bit low here. A quick look at the total health bar. There you go. The shots are coming in. The sharpshooter is not really able to supply any assistance in getting the DPS on the King Fleshpound because they've been taking care of most of the quarter pounders that have been coming in. The team is now starting to reposition themselves. There is a bit. Oh no, that might be the SWAT right there getting ordered off and cut between the players. The medic is in a different position, not paying attention to their rear. It looks like it could be a problem. The hits are coming in left, right, and center. A laser beam eaten directly by Flux, still surviving, sufficient health, but only if the medic manages to heal him. The medic is now pinned in the corner, got out of it very quickly. Their rings are moving very, very fast. That armor is still very high. They need to move it a little bit faster. A little more focus on the quarter pounders might be necessary. There's no room for error. They come in from every single side in this map. There's no consistency. There's no real good place for them, considering their spawn point, to have had a lane where they could keep them all separated. This room is less than optimal. But they're getting some damage in. The shield is down, and the King Fleshpound is down. No deaths. A lot of damage there, though, at the end. 23 minutes, 18 seconds. If only they were able to get to another position where they might have had a better angle. That might have gone a little bit faster. However, that was still a very respectable time, especially considering the location and the map. Once again, round of applause for those players who have worked so hard today. I believe we potentially got even more healing on this round. Pop 2222 got 3,882 health healed. Zed Slayer 490 kills on the Firebug. Slimer 240 assists. That was the SWAT Firebug with another immense amount of damage. This time Sharp got 23 large Zed kills. Lots of money on the Firebug as expected. Headshots 552 headshots on the SWAT, and Strip Steve managed to nick that boss kill. So we're gonna go ahead and wait for everything to move around. Switch off from this temporarily. Ooh, not mean to open that. So many buttons. Can't actually leave this, so we'll just switch this over. Looks like I still have the stream start on. My apologies. Get that.
She's not getting up from that.
Oh, looks like I also left the chat box on too, luckily.
She's
I
toast.
don't think anyone chatted this time. So, good deal. That could have been an accidental issue on my part. Luckily, that won't be covering the screen up unnecessarily. Try to keep it clean. Alright, so what are we going to talk about? There was a lot to happen there before we really get stuck in with the final review, and it'll have to be a very fast one since we did start a bit late. But quick movements, map makes things difficult. There was a lot of adaptability on presentation there. There was difficulty on that boss wave. That third holding position was not optimal for the rate of flow in terms of these spawns. It felt slower. I'm not sure if it was slower, but it felt slower. But it was taken care of effectively. There was no real damage issues. But that boss wave, it was a tough one. That location wasn't the best. The boss was coming in from the room where they just were, and they were just surrounded by quarter pounders. It could have been a lot worse, however, with everyone getting split up and the lines of sight being so difficult. The medic made sure to keep themselves in good position, though, the whole time, and overall made things work out. So that was, all in all, a pretty good deal. Let's see if we can talk to Flux at all, because that was a very tight match, and it might be a bit too late to have a chat. If so. So be it. But yeah, I mean that was good. It was clean up until the end, and there was difficulties involved. But you know, that's what it is. Hello, Flux.
Hello.
Thank you for taking time to talk to me. I know you have another stream to get started soon enough, potentially. I don't know if it's immediate. Is it? I don't know what's next.
Let me
What's
just double check.
There's so much happening today. So much action.
23. No, the next one is at 1:30 CST, I believe.
Okay, so you have a bit of time.
Yeah, come on.
Okay, I was like, we gotta rush this. All right, well, let's go ahead and talk about that a little bit. This was a bit different, a bit stickier towards the end.
Yeah.
There's a lot to unpack. Let me go ahead and just switch the screen back into the game so that I'm not just staring at my comically sized tip jar, which I just like because it makes jingly noises and shiny. Genuinely, that's why it's on there. Please, no one feel any. People are like, "Why do you have such a picture?" It's shiny. Let's unpack what happened. The map is a difficult one. There's no denying that. There's a huge distance potential between traders. The lines and the spawn points are very variable throughout. Some locations you will just get swarmed. Other ones, not so much, but you'll have a good line of sight. Some of them, even if you think that you're positioned well, if you're too close to a certain wall, there's a potential for spawns to be popping up on another corridor altogether, which means it takes them time to get to you. And then when you combine that with the fact that you do need to move at some point for the traders, you made several switches between locations. And at the end of the day, the Fleshpound, the King Fleshpound spawn and your location was less than optimal. If you had pulled back a little further, that might have been actually a really good place to be. But you ended up being in the corridor by the time you got there, and there was quite a bit of quarter pounders coming in all at once. So there's lots to talk about, and I think I'd like to go kind of in the general statement of what I just said. So let's start with your positioning and the team composition, pretty much what we'd expect. We'll go into that as we go along, but positioning, what made you and your team decide that that spot that you started with was the one you wanted in particular, if at all?
So, in general, you know how with me said I adapt all the time and all that.
Mhm.
Well, with this one, this is actually the second time I've ever played the map, surprisingly.
Okay.
So, for me and Shadow, which was the support, we've only just literally just gone onto the map. We did a duo a couple weeks back, not knowing we would ever play this, but we thought, well, at least we need to know the maps somewhat. But then, which is why me and Odin had a bit of a conflict on our decisions. So we actually didn't know the map, and when we came to the bit which you saw just before when you was just starting the stream up, we literally just made up a plan on the spot then. So it was like, okay, right, we need to figure out something that's kind of the same as what we've been doing because we're most comfortable in that. And if something happens, we know how to work it because we've done it already. You know, it's just different maps, same thing.
Yeah.
So the starting location was actually one of the 3 areas that I've picked for the team. To be honest, it was the most stable, I would say.
Definitely.
But it also has its risks, and that risk kind of showed a little bit on the second and third wave. But that came down to actually our communication that delayed us a little bit. But in general, like, the actual spot was fit perfect for the team.
Yeah, that location, I was trying to showcase where the Zeds were spawning, kind of pulled away from the team a little too long, in my opinion. But on the upper half, for the most part, the corridor is very, very close. You get spawns behind at least 2 of those trucks as well as the coroner, so it's a pretty good flow. On the lower half, though, it's a bit more complicated. Some of them come in from inside of the hangar. Some of them come from the front. Some of them come from the side. There is an issue of some of them coming in from very deep down the parallel corridor, and I don't know if that's just because that was the next nearest spawn point or if it's because of the closeness between those 2 corridors and just the team at the top having triggered those spawns. But that definitely seems to slow things down. But overall, it was a good pace and it had a good line of sight. But I feel that the line of sight was also something that negatively impacted your team, and I don't know if you felt it as well as much as I perceived it. Especially when it came to the EDARs and such, because if the lower team dodges, you're just going to get a bunch of rockets into the back, which I think happened to you, in fact. So it's a kind of a hard spot because you have line of sight, but so does all of the ranged Zeds. Do you have any thoughts on that?
So we didn't actually have any issue with the ranged Zeds. Actually, I don't think anyone commented on, I've been hit in the back or anything. Even if it did happen, I don't think it actually makes any difference at all. Mm-hmm. With the medic, with our call-outs and the way we actually communicate as a team, it's like, okay, if someone did get hit, the medic was straight onto them. It's just, in such a small timing, we had more control than what the Zed could have actually done damage-wise. So even if, like, for example, like the high spawns, we did notice it, which is why I was kind of hiding against the car. Mm-hmm. On the side, and the firebug also moved back slightly to the left as well, so we can try and stop triggering that high spawn. But I think it was because where we killed them so quick, they couldn't physically spawn close enough, fast enough. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So they have to use the extra spawns outside as well.
Yeah. All right, and then moving onwards, you moved through some traders. I'm pretty sure I was actually in your chat when the position was switched. There was a lack of movement speed, essentially. You weren't able to get the weapon that you were looking to get and had to stick with a katana. And you also were being very cyberbully towards that bloat. I don't think bloat viewers are going to very appreciate that. But barring that, and I hope they don't try to cancel me. What was the idea there? You mentioned earlier that you had some positions in mind, and I heard the call out go to the second position. So was that location definitely known at that time when you realized you had to get there?
So it was just like a last second decision because I didn't actually know where the trader was until right at the end there.
Because you haven't played the map very much, right?
Yeah, so I'm still learning heights because obviously where that map's got multiple heights, I'm also learning the rooms and the hallways because some of them are very similar from each other, which you will find later on. We end up mixing 2 rooms up, but we still got it through and all that. But it was like, originally I wasn't meant to have the katana, but because of the distance, I ended up panic buying getting that instead of waiting for my next weapon. So, yeah, I abused the katana a bit. I know the attack speed and DPS is a bit low. Well, the DPS is low, but the attack speed is high, so it makes up for it. So I just kind of abused that for a couple of ways. I know what I can use with that, especially when we have tight hallways. The katana is one of the best for clearing. It's just not good for clearing large Zeds, but when you've got a team to back you up, it makes no difference. So yeah, when we made the second call, it's like, okay, right. Go to the second position, which actually was one of the locations that we planned just before the match.
Okay.
And yeah, we just kind of stuck to it, and then we started shifting perks about to kind of fit the speeds, and then change kind of our location a little bit because some parts just didn't work. So we just swapped it about and see if we can get it smoother. In the end, we kind of got there.
Yeah. And I agree with the katana information. I mean, the katana also has that excellent slashing damage. If you aim it right, you know what you're doing with it, you'll be able to remove heads, and it's really not a problem at all. I mean, if you're going for bodies, it's not going to be as effective, but I'm sure you were making good use of it. Let's see here. So you moved on to the second position. You mentioned a moment ago that there was a confusion between positions. Is that the reason behind ending up in the third location? Which was basically just on the other side, or was there just a difference of confusion that I failed to comprehend a moment ago?
The second position we wanted to try, but we didn't want to do what the other team used. I saw the faults and what they've got, and I saw the bonuses of it. So I thought, let's try and use my knowledge of how spawns and everything work, and then let's just abuse the corner. But the confusion was, it actually didn't work how I thought it would. So that's where the confusion was. So it's like, okay, right, guys, we need to swap something up. They're like, yeah, but this is safe. Yeah, but it's too slow for our liking. We're going to get bored. So we ended up swapping 2 perks around. It still didn't speed up. So I was like, you know what, guys, just push up. Let's just speed this up. So we end up just pushing to the next room ahead. That was the only confusion from there. And then later on, yes, we did switch to another room, which we had the similar effect, but it was a little bit faster. Towards the end.
To us, at least not to us. To me, it felt a little bit slower actually, that last room, but it was the spawn from the upper side was definitely a lot faster. It's just that whole issue of being near the training zone really delays Zeds that are confused at any time because they're just going to be going back and forth in that little maze corridor. So it was interesting to see what your ideas were, and it makes a bit more sense now, knowing that the match or the map wasn't played often. So obviously you're not going to be able to really understand the weird spawns because this one has some very weird spawns. They're put behind crates and trucks and things of that nature. It's a very odd one. But knowing now what you didn't know, I think you guys did a good job, kind of plotting ahead, I guess, and adjusting and being adaptable. It's
the only issue is really, knowing where the trader is. Because if you don't know where the trader is, which route do you take? If you go the wrong way, then you're costing your trader time and, your wave time, depending if you're saving one for last. Then you also got to have the perks that are going to be running up towards it. So gunslingers in some maps and zerkers. Would they be able to catch up if they need to? If not, they're going to miss out on a weapon or so. So having the heights of the maps really messes up teams in the decisions if you don't really know certain pieces of information. Like, as you saw, when I just said, sod it, just skip it. Because there was just no point spending that 10 seconds for me to get to it, get the weapon, and then run to my team.
Yep. But overall, it was a good choice, especially skipping because it doesn't look like much further, but every second definitely counts
For sure.
in this kind of environment. So I think that was the right call to make. And moving on to the last part, how was the how was the boss wave, honestly, for y'all? There was
Yeah.
mayhem. It went from it was interesting because in the previous match, it was non-stop high octane murder fest inside that stairwell, and then the boss wave was relatively tame. And in this match, it felt like the complete opposite. It was pretty tame waves, and then the boss wave just came in and just started pummeling. There was all huge chunks of health getting ripped off of everyone. How was that?
So, admittedly, that was actually our weakest point. Even though the rest we had a lot of mistakes, we just didn't get punished for it. For this one, we actually did get punished for our mistakes. Like you already mentioned, the first thing we got punished for was location. Now, we kind of skipped the wave and went, okay, right, where are we going? And we all walked into the hallway and went, crap. So, we knew exactly, we made a mistake just from that. So it's like, okay, look, we need to figure out where the Fleshpound is coming from, and then we can just kind of adjust. But as soon as we got to that point, we had quarter pounds already swarming in, sandwiching us together.
Mm-hmm.
So we ended up being a bit messy on like location, who to follow. But we stuck to the plan and was like, okay, just focus on these, have this person do this, have person that, and we almost got punished for it because we ended up having to split almost into like 3 groups.
Yes.
So like 2, 2, and 1. And we just kind of had to go, okay, right, we need to meet up, we need to do this. And as soon as we mixed our focus and we went back in, okay, because I ended up getting very close to dying, I think, at one point.
Very, very, very close.
The
Yes.
50, 60 health, which is a bit, to me, is a bit of a scary point because that could be just one. If I don't parry the next hit, I could be dead, technically.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
we did have a little bit of a panic moment where it was like, okay, right, I need to run around the corner. Medic, can you heal me a couple of times? Just focus on anyone else.
Yeah.
And then we end up swapping the focus between each other. So it got very heavy quicker than we expected.
Yeah, you ate a good laser beaming from the King Fleshpound. I think that was pretty much what led to you being nearly dead.
Yes.
I think it took you a moment to even register that you were being lasered before you actually brought up your shield. So,
Yeah, that was actually when I was blind. I actually couldn't see. I had quarters swinging me around, trying to parry. When you have the parry effect, obviously everything's darker and such. So it was just trying to figure out, okay, my health's getting low. Oh, I'm now really low. What happens? And
yeah, and
it just, yeah.
yeah, following up with what you mentioned about those 3 groups, that was also very problematic from the perspective of the commentator, because the medic was basically getting slapped around by the quarter pounders in between these groups, and there was a lot of body blocking going on as a result of these very bulky beasts, so I'm very surprised that, and it's going to sound kind of similar to last time, I mean, and bringing things slowly towards the MVP concept, I'm not really sure globally how MVP might work, but in terms of that match, that medic, I think, was the be-all end-all or that wave, I mean to say, because of somehow, some way, they managed to keep line of sight on everyone, because 1 second on the left side, so your sharpshooter is being cornered and just absolutely pounded upon. Medic moves over there. Next second, other side of the corridor, same thing happens to someone else, and it just kept moving back and forth, back and forth. And personally, I main medics in most games, and I love playing medic and killing floor. That would have been difficult for me. Just flat, full stop. Like, most people know me as a very good medic. That was impressive to watch. Like, that was really, really good medicing, and I feel that I just don't understand how that could be done without effective communication. So I guess the question that comes from this is, you mentioned that you guys were communicating and trying to stabilize and all that. What was the communication like with the medic? Were they just flicking their screen around, spotting every single low health bar, or were people just saying heal and then instant heal and then they shut up and the next person goes heal and so on and so forth? What was that like?
So in a general aspect, the main 2 talkers is actually myself with the calls and specifically what I expect, what's going to happen in the next 30 seconds and all that. And then the second person is actually the medic. His role is to be in the middle of the team, and he focuses on everything. He kind of talks for some people, because some people need to focus on their aim and stuff like that, whereas he doesn't really have to.
Mhm.
So he can actually kind of give me the information I need, which is why sometimes you will see me go from one location to another really quick because of his core.
Mhm.
So in that moment, we were very tight on what we were doing. So I was like, look, heal me. I'm going around the corner. I'm healing a bit. Tank. He was going to tank 1 or 2 hits for me, and then I'm going to come back in, take their aggro for him, and then he can carry on healing the rest, so that we're kind of helping each other out in the different situations until I get back into mine. He kind of takes over. I jump back in. He goes back with the rest of the team. So it might sound a little bit erratic at the time, but it's like me and him knew exactly what we needed to do at the time. He just played it. We didn't expect him to take an extra hit though. That's the one thing I can say. But everyone was getting flung about. It just kind of like, you know what? I'll go around here. You healed. Honestly, I couldn't ask for anyone better to on the medic right now. He's always spot on. His builds are working towards the maps and everything, which is working really well.
Yeah, I noticed that there was a HM41, I believe it's called. I don't know if that was still there during the boss wave, but it was basically the original medic rifle before the grenade launcher one. If that,
Yep.
So I assume that was still being used during the match, and I was mentioning how that was definitely more advantageous for targeted healing.
Yes.
So I think that was a good switch, and it happened much earlier in the match than would potentially be necessary because it was such a smooth, body of waves. So I was interested to see that. I was wondering why that happened, but I think it was a good choice. It paid off. And talking about some more of the events that happened in that boss wave, because there was a lot to unpack.
Oh yeah.
The sharpshooter was just taking the aggro. You tried really hard, especially right at the beginning, to get that King Fleshpound to stop pestering your sharpshooter, but just he didn't care about you. He wanted that sharpshooter. He wanted him bad. I was in the Fleshpound's point of view at that time, and it never looked at you. It was just going straight for him, put him in a corner. Eventually, it looked like they decided to not bother firing at the King Fleshpound. And that also probably had to do with them being moved over. Was there, you mentioned that there was a plan somewhat at the beginning. Was there a plan to have the sharpshooter focusing on the quarter pounders as they ended up doing, or were they originally intended to be focusing on the King Fleshpound?
So, no, the aggro is actually always supposed to be on me. I said right at the start, just have me take the aggro. I don't care about the rest. You focus all the rest of them, then help me afterwards because, the King Fleshpound can't do any damage if I'm just parrying him, and the damage output he can do in general is just nothing.
Especially with the Mason Shield, yeah.
With the whole situation we had at the start of the wave, that made it a bit problematic was that he was kind of already waiting out there, and when the quarters came along and got him, he started aggroing them by accidental. So it's like I actually did say, like, stop damaging him, let me do the damage so that he focuses me, and then reposition yourself, and then just pummel him. So it was just the unlucky moment of when we first started the wave. I think that was the only issue we had there.
The unawareness of
very unlucky on the position, really.
Yeah, the unawareness of the map. As soon as I saw the spawn, I was like, oh, they're right next to him. This will be great. They could just turn around. But when since I was watching the Fleshpound ended up coming through the corridor, you guys hadn't turned around. I was like, ooh, that's not good. So, but yeah, I mean that shows again the adaptability that you mentioned earlier, because it started with trying to fire on that King Fleshpound, which is generally what you would expect because you're trying to chunk him down quickly. But there was a good switch to focusing on those quarter pounders. I saw that a lot of rail shots were going into those quarter pounder heads a little bit later during that whole melee. And I think it was a good transition, and it was a good focus for someone who can take them down quickly. Potentially in other environments you would want the sharpshooter to stay focused on the quarter or the King Fleshpound, but with the environment that you had, you absolutely need to take down those quarter pounders as quickly as possible. So I think once again that just shows the skill and the adaptability of your team. So all around, I think everyone did a really, really good job. Do you have any thoughts in terms of just the team in general as we move into maybe considering MVP?
I would say that nobody should really take that match seriously that we just done, because we actually did mess around a lot more than we was hoping to. You actually came into the commentator in our channel at the right time where we was actually less casual. which was kind of weird. Which could have led. That's why we were getting punished quite a bit, though. Like I was dancing in the middle of the fire and some other bits and pieces. So, just with that, even though everyone wants to go for a competitive match, have some fun and try and enjoy it. Whether you win or lose, just enjoy it because you never know. This might be your only tournament you do, and we're getting clips. I hope people got clips of these. Honestly, it's really good fun.
I turned the
Both being
clips
in
on.
it
So.
and watching.
Well, we have to trim it down by at least one, but since that would just feel terrible, I'd like to trim it down by two. What are you thinking? I'm thinking medic. Obviously, without that, you would almost certainly wiped at the end there because that was bad. There's no arguing that. So I think they have to be on there. I think Firebug did a good job helping hold points, but this time there wasn't nearly as much necessity. Everyone was, because of your positioning, it was much smoother. So I think it's a lot harder for me to parse out potential. That's why I ask you, maybe as a perception as someone who was there the whole time, like maybe who kept you on track, who worked things the best. I don't know, something along those lines. Help me out here, man. Help me out.
It's okay. So when we go to the other matches, it's like everyone has a specific role. They know exactly what they're doing. That they all do the certain thing. So certain perks really shine, like Firebug. Usually in such a close quarters, they absolutely demolish everything. They have full control, like we had in the last map. But in this one, because it's so open, they kind of relax a bit because there's not much they need to do. Not saying he did a bad job. It's just that there wasn't much for him to actually shine way more than everyone else.
Yeah.
So like medic, clearly, in the center, had the chokeholds. They knew when to heal. They took the hit for when maybe the berserker who actually needed to get around the corner, and then we swapped around a bit so that the synergy between us two was really, really good. The support and the support was, he was there for the ammo. I don't want to say that he done shit or anything because nobody did rubbish at all.
Yes, absolutely.
It's just very hard to see if anything shined, and I don't think really anything did. So I'm kind of on the same point as you, even though I played in the game. It's very hard to figure out. I don't know.
I don't know either. All right, well then let's do this simply. I mean, I apologize to the other players, but Medic's got to be in there. I think Berserker's got to be in there because, again, at the end, that melee, I mean, if you didn't properly move those aggros and kind of just help extricate the sharp from the corner, I think we're just going to have to focus on that end state because the rest of the match was pretty much just coasting along. I think you could agree, potentially. Is that correct? More or less?
Yeah, kind of.
All right, so let's focus in on the end. Sharpshooter, like I said, it looked like they were definitely doing an excellent job clearing the quarter pounders. Past that point, I couldn't tell what was happening because I was just listening. I'm like, I hear the railgun going off and I see bodies going down. So I know they're doing something. So I guess that leaves us with the Firebug and support and SWAT pulling up the rear. Maybe in terms of the DPS or their stunning potential, I'd like to maybe bring SWAT up a little higher because, again, those stuns, which I don't know if they even went off or not, but I'd like to presume some stuns went off at the end. I'd want to put SWAT in there as well. So
yep, I agree.
And then because I don't want to have two, I think maybe Firebug and support have to come off on this time. What do you think? So, and essentially, long story short, medic, sharpshooter, berserker, and SWAT.
Yeah, I have to agree with them.
Let's go ahead and run that poll. 3 minutes. Make sure you actually vote this time, please. View result. I'll go ahead and even mark it extra clear. I think I got a splinter at some point here. I have no idea how the heck that happened sitting at a desk. Ow. I'll look into that later. But yeah, I mean, those are two very different matches. I think you really showcased the value of adaptability, like you mentioned, and not just you, of course. When I say you, I mean the whole FluXiServer team. Oh, yeah. Can I ask you to help boost my memory? The match was 23 minutes or something along those lines, right?
It
At the end?
was 23 minutes 18.
Okay, so that was over 23 minutes. So let's go ahead and choose the outcome of the poll. It was over under 21 minutes. I kind of messed that up because I did not give it nearly enough time on that last wave because I thought it would go a little bit faster on wave 7. So 150 channel points to the single winner because no one else even voted anything. I think they just got their money back. That's feels bad, man.
I genuinely feel like from a team's perspective, and we know it, we could probably cut off 3-4 minutes from that. Like, we chose not to skip one of the waves just because we wanted to play safe. We took the rooms because we wanted to play safe. A couple of mistakes, and obviously not knowing the map. I really feel like we can really cut off a good amount of time.
Yeah, knowing the map would have significantly increased. Personally, if I were playing it, and it's not like I've played it all that much, but I mean, positionally, I would have probably opted for the rear area of the cantina, maybe, which is kind of where you guys were when you were about to come back through during the trader, where the King Fleshpound came through. So just sort of in that same direction towards the back, or alternatively, positionally, maybe upstairs on the outer corridor where there's just a bunch of trucks, because then that would have kind of boosted the spawn and not given them as much time to have to walk all around the place. But it's still very close to the locations you were at, and those locations that I mentioned right now would have been far more dangerous. So it's just dependent on whether or not you guys were up to having another really, really aggressive, high focus kind of match you did last time. I can't see what's happening because this prediction is taking forever to go away. Drag this out of the way? No, I can't. Okay, I just have to wait for this. Rude. Boy. I have such a tiny screen. Let's see here. Maybe this will... Is it done? No, it's almost done. We got maybe 30 seconds left on that poll. Go ahead and get your votes in. What's next for FluXiServer team or you yourself in terms of the rest of today, since we have just a little bit more time to chat?
So we have got a couple more matches tonight. We've got one, 2. Two more matches to go tonight. We got one at 1:30 CST, and then we got another one which is going to kill me at 3 AM CST. 4 AM CST. That will be Sad Swats and Janitor Jedi Association. That will be Evacuation Point and Volta Manor. So basically the games we've seen today.
Let's see. Let me look at my schedule. According to this, I think I will still be up for this. I'll come back to you on that a little bit later. But if all goes well, I should be coming back myself in what looks to be maybe like an hour and 10 minutes for that Volta Manor with Sad Swats and Major. If not, we'll have that on Flux's channel. We'll talk about that a little bit later. I think that covers it. MVP has been voted with 75% of the vote going to the Medic and 25% going to Berserker. So I think we did a good job splitting that up. I think that about covers it. So unless there's anything else you have to say, I'll either drag you out or you can take yourself out of this chat, and I'll go ahead and wrap up the stream for now.
No problem. Thank you very much.
Thank you once again for taking the time to talk. All right, well, there you go, everyone. You heard it all here right with me. It has been quite a couple hours for me. I am getting a bit tired. I definitely need this break. We'll see about where the next stream's coming in. So I'm going to be, fortunately, a little bit non-committal about that. But that about does it for today. This has been, at least for now, this stream. This has been the Cruiser, also known as Cruise Control. Thank you very much for watching. I don't believe we had any other follows or anything of that nature during the stream. So let me go ahead and see here. I have no idea what song to play out here. I'll do that one. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. If there are any questions, comments, or concerns, let me know either here or in the FluXiServer tournament server. What is the actual server name? FluXiServer Tournaments Discord server. Feel free to give feedback. I greatly appreciate it. Any critique is welcome for me as long as it's in good nature and actually meant to be critique, because I'd like to get a little bit better at this. I don't know about you, but it's pretty fun for me. So we'll talk another time. I'm starting to ramble a bit, showing how tired I am. And good luck to the teams. Good luck to the streamers, especially Flux, who's going to be up very late tonight. and we'll see you next time. Bye.
No one can ever change you. Don't wait around before it gets too late. 'Cause your time is now.